They just caught a time traveler at Elvis Presley's final concert, and they think it's a CERN scientist. A resurfaced video from 1977 appears to show a woman holding what looks like a modern smartphone nearly 30 years before the iPhone and years before the first commercial cell phone. But this isn't the first time. Conspiracy theorists have also pointed to a man who appeared to be talking on a cell phone during World War II. We've even seen a spectator at a 1995 Mike Tyson fight who seemed to be recording with what looked like a smartphone.
Told him your greatest asset can become your greatest weakness.
Skeptics say they're just old cameras or other period devices, but here's the twist. Some physicists say traveling to the past isn't mathematically impossible. And then there's CERN, an organization often blamed for messing with timelines.
Alright, fine. I will tell you why they keep trying to jump timelines and why CERN keeps skipping through time and it's because they've already seen into the future. Okay? Rumors speculate they've seen 45,000 years into the future. Speculation though, but there's also Project Looking Glass that, they've already took a peek and saw that they lose no matter what. So they're just rolling the dice.
And if you listen to what they're building, you might start to believe these insane time-traveling claims.
Replacing about 1.2 kilometers of the 27-kilometer ring with the high luminosity LHC magnets. This will give us a machine that's 10 times brighter than the Large Hadron Collider, 10 times more data. So it really is an opportunity to explore the universe in a way we haven't done before.
This is terrifying news. CERN is shutting down next week, and people are starting to panic. On June 29th, CERN's Large Hadron Collider is scheduled to shut down until 2030, and people are starting to notice a pattern. CERN first fired up in the year 2008. Within days, Wall Street collapsed, and the world was thrown into the worst financial crisis since the Great Depression. Then, CERN entered its first major shutdown in 2013. Within 24 hours, a massive meteor exploded over Russia in one of the most powerful impacts in modern history. Then CERN entered its second long shutdown from 2018 to 2022. And what happened during that window? A global pandemic, worldwide lockdowns, supply chain chaos, economic meltdown, political unrest, and a world that never went back to normal. Now CERN is shutting down again, this time until 2030, as AI explodes, as wars escalate, as governments push digital IDs, as America approaches its 250th birthday, and as CERN prepares an even bigger collider for the future. Maybe it's all coincidence, but how many coincidences before it becomes a pattern? What do you think happens over the next 4 years while CERN is offline?
Did this guy time travel and get himself stuck in the past? In early 1995, Mike Madman Markham attempted to construct a time machine on the front porch of his house in Stanberry, Missouri. He'd go on to call this ingenious contraption Jacob's Ladder, and it worked by reducing the air resistance between two poles using a modified compact disc laser. He theorized that the result would be a continuous arc of energy, and much to his surprise, when he turned the machine on, it produced just that, in the shape of a vortex. He'd describe it as similar to a heat mark that you'd see on the pavement, except it was circular. So, to test this vortex, he decided to throw a sheet metal screw into it. Astonishingly, it was the result he had hoped for. The sheet metal screw disappeared for about a half a second and reappeared a few feet away. At the time, Markham was a student studying electrical engineering, and he was just 21 years old. When comparing to his friends, Mike was said to be quite intelligent, and the reason he wanted to travel back in time was to get the winning lottery numbers. for the future. But unfortunately, there was one problem preventing him from doing this. He just simply could not produce enough power for the time machine. And much as expected, as he ran a few more tests with the CD laser, it caught on fire, and his whole machine was up in smoke. So he did the only thing he could do. He rebuilt it. But this time, in order to gain enough power, he knew he needed transformers. His original plan was to purchase them, but he soon found out that they were exponentially expensive. As a result, he resorted to the alternative. One night, he and some friends went to the local power station, where he knew there were 6 older transformers. It took them nearly all night, but he and his friends were able to dismantle and steal all 6 300-pound transformers from the St. Joseph Light and Energy Station in King City, Missouri. A few short months later, his machine was all built and ready to go with the transformers. But unfortunately, when he went to run it, it caused a mass blackout of the entire city. The next morning, the madman woke up to a knock at the door. It was Gentry County Sheriff Eugene Lupfer, and he had an arrest warrant for Markham. With the transformers disappearing and the mass blackout, they knew right where to go. And that's what he got arrested for on January 29th, 1995. After several months in jail, Mike was released, and he was invited by Art Bell to be on the radio show called Coast to Coast. There he shared his story and told Bell that he planned to rebuild the time machine, but this time he was going to do it all legally. The only problem was he neither had the material or the means. But luckily, Bell allowed him to share his number during the interview. The result, his phone rang off the hook for the next 3 days, with people sharing their ideas, some spare parts, but more importantly, their money. So with his listeners' help and their resources, the next project was much more successful. He was able to build a larger and more powerful time machine this go round. The original time machine only ran at a kilowatt power rate. This one ran at a 3 megawatt power rate. He did this because he wanted to test the time machine on himself. And behind me, you'll see a picture of a design straight out of his notes. In order to achieve this, Markham installed a rotating magnetic field, similar to the one the government used in the Philadelphia experiment. His claim was the rotating magnetic field ran much more efficiently and effectively. Almost a year later, Art Bell had him on Coast to Coast again, where he explained how his time machine worked and that he was going to try and beam himself to the past. The interview ended with Markham explaining that he was on the cusp of gaining enough energy to achieve his feat. During the interview, Art Bell asked him what he was planning on taking back with him in time. He said the only thing he was going to take with him was his cell phone. So almost a month later, Mike was at home and fires up his machine. When it begins to generate energy, he hops in a steel tube. As the power in the vortex increased, you could literally see a magnetic field generate around Markham. Then suddenly, he was gone. The vortex closed and there was no sign of Mike. On that day in 1997 was the last anybody has ever seen of Mike Madman Markham. Just a few weeks after Markham's disappearance, a listener calls into the Art Bell Show to let him know about a mysterious story he had come across. This story stated that in California in the 1930s, somebody had stumbled upon an odd tube with what seemed to be a crushed body inside. The body was unrecognizable. The only thing it had with it was a mysterious device that, according to the listener, looked like a cell phone from the 1990s. Bell couldn't believe what he was hearing. Could that have been the madman himself? Do you think he successfully traveled back in time? I've searched and searched for that story to no avail. You simply cannot find it. Even when trying to find Mike himself on platforms, social media, you literally can't. There's virtually no traces of him at all. The only thing I was able to find was at the end of one of the articles talking about this story. It was the only article covering this story that made this claim. So I'm apprehensive to actually believe it. It could just be to swerve people from what really took place that day. The article stated that the source was paranormalforum.net. They said that the last part of the story about Mike was incorrect. Their claim was that Mike was actually part of the forum, and he stated that before the pandemic, he was homeless in Hawaii. And at that time, he was trying to raise enough money to get back to the mainland. They also stated that he had a GoFundMe set up 2 years ago to further his experiments. Like I said, after investigating this claim, I found nothing.
So, welcome to tonight's live. We're going to be talking about CERN. And so a lot of you know about CERN and what happens there with the Hadron Collider in Switzerland. But the reason why we're bringing this up now is because in a few days, CERN is going to go dark. So in June 29, 2026, CERN goes dark. They call it the long shutdown 3. So we have obviously been researching a lot about CERN for a while.
Yeah, we followed it forever.
And so we just have questions more than answers. We don't really understand all the details about CERN, but it does seem very, very strange, and it does seem to coincide with a lot of timelines and things that occur. So on the surface, routine maintenance, that's what they're saying it is when they shut it down. Machines need repairs, tunnels need upgrades beneath the surface. I'm theorising, I guess, I don't know if you're agreeing with this, Matt, but that the harvest begins.
Maybe.
We're just putting it out there
soul stealing
as the possibility that they're going to use this period of shutdown like they have in the past as time for them to be able to start to draw energy from human beings. So why do we think that? We want to know what has been drawn out of the collective during the quiet years. So the last shutdown, the last long shutdown, LS2, so this is LS3, left a trail of fire, a plague, and an injection that entered billions of bodies. That pattern returns now, and so we're watching basically to see where they go. So the last official time that they closed CERN down was 2018, and they reopened it in 2022. So if you are down the rabbit hole, if you follow our channel, you would probably know that during that 4-year period, there was a lot that happened.
Shit hit the fan.
Yes. And so it started with fire, didn't it? So we're going to talk about that. What else happened during that period?
Well, I think also, it seems to be, the trend seems to be things are pretty mellow when it's on, and it seems to cause problems when it's off. Or it's almost like the pinnacle, when they turn it off, that's the end of the experiment. So whatever they were really trying to do probably doesn't happen till the last days, and they're just like testing it and warming it up. I think this time they actually said they're shutting it down to replace 1.2 K's worth of new magnets, special magnets. That's the excuse they gave for the shutdown.
It's always about upgrades or something like that, which I'm not saying they don't do, but they never really give us the details of what they're doing at CERN.
No.